Welcome back to Elevation Perspective. My name is Mark, joined today once again with Frank Tropiano and Anthony the Heel Romano. The Royal Rumble is in the rearview mirror. Crazy night. I think a lot of takes. There's a lot to break down here. We're going to start things off with Cody before we get into the fun Rumbles. Cody, of course, fought Kevin Owens in that ladder match. Cody did retain his championship, as we all thought. I'll just kick it to Frank first. Frank, what did you think about that match?
Loved it. I loved every second of it. It was brutal. It was intense. If we were going to have Kevin Owens lose his sixth, I believe it's his sixth championship match at the Royal Rumble, it had to be in the way it was. Love the Alabama Slam into the ladder, and then that last shot of Cody running back to the announce table and celebrating over Sammy, and then obviously KO's just like body just dangling there off of the ladders. It really started that slight Cody turn, and I just thought that was awesome.
It wasn't even slight to me. That was a very heel-like win, a very heel-like celebration. Anthony, what do you think?
I don't know if I would go as far as to call it maybe heel-like, but I don't know if it's a full turn. I think it's a product of how vicious and how emotional and how personal this rivalry has become between Cody and Kevin Owens. We saw it on full display. This wasn't a Money in the Bank ladder match. You know, this was a brutal, violent ladder match. And, you know, with Cody emerging victorious in the way that he did with the Alabama. Listen, I don't know how KO was supposed to land on that ladder. If it was that way, bravo. If it wasn't that way, still bravo, because it made it look even more brutal. With the way that he won, the carnage that was left in front of him with KO's body laying there, limp in contortions on the memes that came out were pretty funny, but and the celebration on the announce table, holding those belts. This was WWE at its best production wise, the camera angles, Sammy getting involved, checking on his friends. You know, that was something we talked about in the preview show. How much would Sammy actually get involved, and would he play a role in the finish? He didn't. He kind of just stood there and was showing concern for both of his friends in that moment because of the brutality. I mean, KO hit his share of pretty big moves there as well. Cody was left in pieces at a couple points. So I thought it was well done. I thought these are two pros who typically put on great matches. And this was, even though they fought before, this was a repeat. It was still tremendous. And it shows you why they trust Kevin Owens for this type of role.
And of course, you mentioned Sammy there. I was very surprised with his participation in this match. We all thought he was going to come out there, but did not get physical. Was kind of just, like you said, the cheerleader for Kevin Owens, kind of just yelling, checking on his friend. Of course, he's kind of like in the middle here because he's friends with Cody too. But once Cody did that like crazy Alabama Slam, and they kind of teased it a little bit. They showed Sammy like he's going to go in there and try to stop Cody, but nothing wound up happening. Cody won, and then the shot was just Sammy checking on his friend there. So correct me if I'm wrong here, either of you guys. The way I see this going forward now, of course, Cody did retain his championship. I think KO is probably off TV for a good amount of time here after that crazy match. And I think we kind of all expect Cody and Sammy to enter a pre-WrestleMania short feud here for the championship, where Cody will probably retain as well.
Maybe. I mean, I think long term, I think probably something with Kevin and Sammy in the WrestleMania area is probably where we're heading. If it takes Cody and Sammy to get there, we'll see. You know, tonight we've got, or on Raw, whenever you're watching this week, we've got Sammy versus Punk. So I'm interested to see what happens in that match. It's a chamber qualifier, and I expect Punk to win, but if Sammy wins, then that throws another monkey wrench into it. So I guess we'll see.
We have been expecting Punk to win quite a bit, and it hasn't been happening. So.
That's true.
All right.
We'll get into it.
That's the tease. That's the setup. We are going to start with the women's match, but let's go right into the Royal Rumble when everyone came here to hear us talk about. The way we're going to do this here, we're going to break it up into 3 segments. The first 10 women, the second 10 women, then the third 10 women. And in that time, we'll talk about the final 4, the winner, how we feel, and all that fun stuff. But we'll kick things off here with the first 2, Io Sky, Liv Morgan, followed by Roxanne Perez, Lyra Valkyria, Chelsea Green, B-Fab, Ivy Nile, Zoe Stark, Lash Legend, and Bianca Belair.
I was excited to see Io come out number 1 considering I picked her as my Iron Woman. So that was kind of cool. And her and Liv basically went not the whole match, but pretty darn long. I mean, they both went over an hour, I think, or right up to an hour. They ended up being beat out by number 3, Roxanne Perez. So all 3 of those girls kind of just went the whole match and were big parts of a lot of different spots. Roxanne's the name that we'll talk about at the end, but she obviously lasts all the way through and kind of has her moment here. A lot of NXT with Lash Legend. She was cool. She had a couple big spots. Chelsea got her moments. I like this group.
Yeah, I mean, Roxanne was great. Great. There are people that hang in there, and Jay talked about he was on McAfee this morning, and he talked about how he thought that maybe he was clinging to the bottom rope a little bit too frequently. In that was not Roxanne at all. So for someone who lasted an hour and 47 seconds, she was active that whole entire hour, and it was really cool to see. She's not too big, so it was really cool to see how she interacted with all these different pieces. She was the MVP of this Rumble, if you ask me. The one that we're not gonna remember in a few years, but when you're watching it, it was like, wow, she really had a huge impact. And then runner-up MVP Chelsea Green, because she is just so entertaining and she just knows what she's doing. She knows exactly what she's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, Chelsea was my pick for the Iron Woman going into this. She lasted 26 minutes, definitely a good showing, definitely was enjoyable. Had 2 eliminations, knocking out BFAB and Lash Legend. Like you said previously, those first 3, Io Sky, Liv Morgan, and Roxanne Perez, all went over an hour. They were involved in pretty much all the big spots throughout this match. So really good storytelling from those 3 women. Pretty unfortunate that one of those 3 women did not win the match, in my opinion, based on the work they put in. But we, of course, will get there. Anything to talk about here with Ivy Nile, maybe Zoe Stark? Anything excite you guys with that?
Yeah, I mean,
Nope.
just the fact that you turn to me about every 2 minutes and ask me whose music that was, and I couldn't blame you because I didn't know half of them either. But I think it was so present in this first 10, and then it got a little bit better because Bianca's music hits and everyone knows that, and everyone knows Naomi's music, and even Maxine Dupree, like they have, like the Alpha Academy has a very distinct sound to it. But it was just those first 10 where it was just this dead air of like, who is that? They could have spaced this out a little bit better.
It's an ongoing kind of joke right now on Twitter, on social media, the Def Rebel stuff, but it is so apparent with the women's division. Like I said, I wasn't even like trying to be funny or joking around with Frank. I did not know who it was almost for half the entrance in this women's Royal Rumble, and I do
You wait
watch
for the
almost
name to pop up on the Titans run.
exactly. And like Frank said, like yeah, we know Bianca, we know Bailey. Like there's the ones that we of course know, but these like under mid card girls all have the same generic noise, and when that happens, the music is so important for the presentation of the superstar, and when it's just starts off flat like that, you just don't care. Then you're like, all right, well, she'll get thrown over and on to the next one.
I've said this before. I think music with lyrics stand out more because it's a song, and when there are words, they are more individualized than just random instrumentals, some rock or hip hop type sounding song. They all start to sound the same. So I'm with you. I mean, to me, there are issues with the men too, but yeah, I mean, it's been a theme for a few years now where guys, and some of them debut new music like Finn did. We'll get to him later, but yeah, it's like you don't even know who these people are before you actually see them.
Yeah, I mean, and you could just keep going with the criticism, but like we'll talk about Alexa Bliss in a few seconds. Like at least that opening, like hers is just music, but that opening, like I don't even know what to call it, but that opening sequence of her song, everyone knows, okay, that's Alexa Bliss.
You
You know
know,
what I mean? Like that's Alexa. Bianca Belair, she has lyrics like the heel was saying, but Bailey doesn't. But we know that like religious like chime that plays at the
These are main
beginning of her.
eventers. You're always going to
Right.
know the main eventers' music. It's the mid
Exactly.
carders who we have
Exactly.
to worry about, and they don't do a good job of distinguishing them from each
Yeah.
other.
Nope. Exactly.
our next 10 here going from 11 to 20. Shayna Baszler, Bailey, Sonya Deville, Maxine Dupree, Naomi, Jada Parker, Piper Nevin, Natalia, Jordan Grace, and Meechin. Jordan Grace, not a big surprise, but it was a surprise at 19. We were expecting her there, but it was nice to see her nonetheless.
I appreciate Jordan Grace for going on Twitter and trying to make it seem like she was not going to be at this Rumble. Um, I appreciate it. No one believes her, but I still appreciate the attempt.
Piper throwing over Chelsea. I mean, it seems like they're kind of not really much of a team anymore anyway, but I don't know. Are they done? Are they no longer a tag team?
I don't think yet, but it continues planting those seeds toward the eventual breakup that will probably result in Piper winning that championship off of her, I'd assume.
Yeah, I mean that feels like WrestleMania.
At
They
11 and 13, when Shayna and Sonya came out, they had the whole Pure Fusion Collective out there. They did not really do anything. Kind of underwhelming
You know
showing.
what? I'll give them this. They at least drew the attention of everyone who was in the ring at the time. So they kind of made it seem like they were this force that everyone needed to team up against. And for very briefly, it felt like, okay, like they are a threat, or they feel like a threat, and everyone needs to team up to get them out. But I mean, just common sense dictates that you didn't watch that expecting them to have any success. So, it still just kind of rings a little hollow.
Also, when Naomi comes out there, the majority of the match, it was Naomi and Bianca just working together. They're a tag team. That's how it goes. But it's frustrating for me to see that with a talent like Bianca Belair, who is one of like the top girls in the entire. Naomi's up there too. Naomi's really important as well. But Bianca Belair should really not be a tag team champion, in my opinion.
Well, and Naomi and Jordan Grace had a moment that Bianca didn't take too kindly to. So again, there was no sighting of Jade Cargill in this match. Someone I think we all assumed would be there.
Yep.
What that means for her health, her status, I don't know. I heard she was at the Performance Center, so maybe she's working her way back. But until we find out who laid her out, the questions about what that storyline is leading up to will probably remain.
And that was a nice TNA callback with Jordan Grace and Trinity. And for our last grouping of women here from 21 to 30, Alexa Bliss, Zelina Vega, Candice LeRae, Stephanie Vaquer, Trish Stratus, Raquel Rodriguez, Charlotte Flair, Julia, Nia Jax, and Nikki Bella. A lot more going on there than the first two segments, I think. We'll start things off here with Alexa Bliss, I think the biggest surprise, probably. A lot of reports saying that they can't get to terms with the contract situation, but there's Alexa Bliss at 21.
Yeah, and Cole was not shy about being like, "Hey, don't listen to the dirt sheets." Alexa Bliss is here.
It's
It was,
very meta now. They're very aware of everything they're saying in terms of how everyone's thinking.
you know what? To ignore it like it's not happening, is I don't think that's good for anyone. Like I don't think like the dirt sheets get the rub here too, just as much as the product like gets the and it adds too, like down the line. Like we're still gonna look at the dirt sheets. We're still gonna look at all the rumors, but now we have that much more of like, can we really trust this? Like something the dirt sheets got right. Nikki Bella at 30, right? The whole thing was Nikki Bella's coming back and she's coming back for a run. She came back. We were like, oh, is she really back? And then after, like, before the Rumble was over, we had an interview with Kathy Kelly saying that she's back. You know what I mean? So they were right. The dirt sheets were right on that.
I didn't see that interview, so she is back full time.
I mean, like, she's gonna. I assume till WrestleMania, but she
Yeah.
says she's back for a little
She
while.
teased
So
it. She teased in the interview. She said you got to wait and see what's next, but she alluded that she's not going anywhere. She's going to
right.
stick around.
Yeah, and I feel like those are the returns in the Rumble that matter. Like obviously we got Trish back in this, and Alexa, and Alexa will stick around, of course, and Trish remains to be seen. I mean, she did extended work a few years ago, but when the legends come back and they're actually still in ring shape and are able to stick around for a while, that's a big return.
Yeah.
When you have the 20-second pop and they're unceremoniously eliminated right after that, it feels more like a waste. So yeah, if Nikki Bella's involved with their WrestleMania plans and whatever they have coming up for the women's division, that's exciting because it's been a while since she's been really active full time, and with this level of the women's roster, it's exciting to see what kind of play she has. The other thing too is, Mark, you threw all those names out. Stephanie Valquer. I think we had 5 or 6 NXT appearances for the women, and I don't think we had a single one for the men, if I'm not mistaken. So the women's division is, we have Bailey feuding in NXT right now. Not that it's what I don't know the word I'm looking for, but it's not interchangeable, but there is a
Fluid.
lot more crossover between the main roster and NXT. And I think that that was shown in this Rumble with how many interactions we got with some of those people at NXT and people on the main roster.
And before we get into our final four and our finish here, just going back to Alexa Bliss, that was my pop of the night. I was really happy to see Alexa Bliss here. Was very frustrated with her actual performance. Last 11 minutes, didn't really do anything, got thrown over by Liv Morgan. I know it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. The fact is that she's back, and that's what's important here, but I just would have liked a better showing.
They were not going to keep her around. This is and we talked about I think we talked about Becky Lynch quite a bit in our preview show, right? And expecting her back. And then it all kind of made sense when Charlotte won because it was like, oh, cool, Charlotte's back. And then it's like, oh, Charlotte's back to do the thing that she always does, right? And so we don't know if she's a face or a heel yet. She hasn't really cut any promos or anything like that other than the I'm coming back to the Royal Rumble. But they didn't want the viral reaction of Alexa Bliss and Charlotte being the last two because then you're going to get the boos. And I don't know if the boos is what they want. They didn't want Becky Lynch and Charlotte being the last two. Like it makes a lot of sense why Alexa Bliss got thrown out when she did. They didn't want her in there with Charlotte because the crowd would have absolutely turned into get Alexa this Royal Rumble and get her to WrestleMania.
I think it's just her performance maybe is just a prelude to just a lot of messy stuff in this match and just the way they went about it with the Nia Jax spot, eliminating like 8 or 9 of them at one time. It
That
just
was,
felt so
that was so
unnecessary.
bad.
It was awful. And
I
and
love the
it's
idea
Io
though.
Io Sky basically eliminates herself because they didn't do it right. Whatever happened, it didn't look good. She doesn't even get hit and she just kind of loses her grip after being in the match for an hour. And you want to say, oh, she was fatigued, if that's going to be your storyline reason, sure. But it just didn't look good. It wasn't executed correctly. Nia's been so good that this felt almost like the early Nia, where you're just using her for her size and her power for no other reason other than that. And I don't know, it just felt lazy to me.
See, I love the spot. Like, I love the idea of the spot of Nia just throwing 8 people out of the ring. Like, I think that's awesome. And, like, that is still her. Like, yes, you're right. Her in ring work has been phenomenal, but that is still her. She is still the powerhouse.
But
Like,
she didn't throw them out.
no,
She just kind of ran into them, and they
it,
all went ooh.
again, the fact that she could take 2 people's legs who are holding on to another 2 people and flipping them out. It sounds cool. It was just executed so poorly. I don't blame Nia for the record. I don't think it was
No, I
her
don't think it
fault.
was. I don't think it was Nia's fault either. I'm not even sure if it was a botch per se. Whatever they thought they were doing there, it did not look the way they wanted to look.
No, exactly,
But the
exactly.
biggest problem with that, so the final four becomes Charlotte, Nikki, Nia, and Roxanne. And Frank, when that disastrous spot happened and you knocked out Io, Bianca, and Liv, I looked at the final four and I said, "That's it. Charlotte's going to win." Like it
Yep.
wasn't even a
Yep.
question at that point. Which that's a problem. If you kept Bianca or Io or even Liv around, you can at least tell yourself the story. Maybe Charlotte doesn't win this match, but at that point, it was already over. Charlotte was going to win that match, and of course, she went on to win that match.
For the record, I thought the same thing happened when CM Punk was eliminated by Logan Paul. Turned out to be wrong.
Well,
But
and
yeah,
and
you're right. You're right, Mark. I thought the same.
and look, it would have been cool. It would have been cool if Roxanne won. I think it would have been cool. I just don't. I mean, like, I don't know.
It's a hard sell. I mean, she's not
no,
even
it
on the main
is.
roster.
It would
I
have been. It would have been cool, but like I get it. I get why they didn't. But like, yeah, Mark, to your point, like this is the whole thing was Charlotte's going to win, and now Charlotte won, and so it does leave a sour taste in your mouth a little bit.
And she didn't really do anything impressive out there.
No,
She was in there about 15 minutes. I kind of feel like she was just one of the girls. Nothing really stood out to me at all. And I don't know. I
I
think
thought she had a little spurt where she showed off some of her strength. I mean, listen, she's the only one who got pyro. She came out in that ridiculous costume that just is fit for Charlotte Flair. She's the queen. She's been gone for more than a year. I think that whether you like her, whether you hate her, whether you think she's had this time in the spotlight way too many times, she still brings it in the ring. She's still going to deliver a great match, most likely against Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania. How can you really complain about that? I know we'll get to the men and maybe the opposite storyline, but I picked her, and I was fine with it. I liked seeing her back. I liked the aspect of a dominant force who has that level of championship success in their career, being there as a true threat every single time that she's in the ring. And it's like the Patriots or the Warriors or the Dodgers. Like, you need a
It's not
Charlotte. You need
even
someone to chase.
it's not even so much complaining for me with Charlotte winning. I too picked her. I thought she was going to win as well. I just the way they went about it, and also the way I look at it now, in hindsight, seeing the men's winner and the women's winner, they went with a really safe bet and a really risky, bold bet. And I think they did this wrong. I think it would have been cool if they gave the woman this spot, whoever it might have been, if it was going to be, I don't know if it would have been Roxanne Perez, but if they kind of went outside the box for the women's win and more safer for the men's win, that might have paid off better.
Listen, there's just something about Charlotte being out for as much as she has over the course of the last 5 years, and then just coming back and just automatically getting this opportunity. That's what I think really.
Charlotte. It's Charlotte
She
Flair.
is. She's
She can
Charlotte
get any
Flair.
opportunity she wants.
And look, I know you guys are going to say the same thing about John Cena, and like, I mean, look, Charlotte's one of the goats, especially of the women's division. John's obviously one of the goats of the men's division. To me, it's just like we could have done something else. Charlotte could have had a big spot at WrestleMania. She doesn't need a title. Again, could have been used like the men's match was to strap a rocket onto somebody, and they did it.
If Tiffany beats Charlotte at WrestleMania, that's a pretty big rocket,
And
don't you think?
That was what I was going to say. I'm okay with this as long as Charlotte gets pinned by Tiffany at WrestleMania. Like, that's got to be it. Like, we have to start establishing new stars in the women's division. Tiffany is basically there, but like, let's just make sure she gets over. Like, this is what I was arguing with Liv Morgan a few weeks ago, where like the win over Rhea Ripley would have been really, really good for her because it would have cemented her as like she's been there, but it would have cemented the place there.
I don't want to
happening.
I don't want to go too deep into this because I do want to move on to the men. But I mean, basically, Liv had the belt for 6 months, 7 months. Tiffany's reign is still pretty new, so I think there's a difference there. And this is her first ever title. Like, you're not gonna ruin Tiffany no matter what. But this would be huge for her.
Okay, fine. Let's move on. But I just have one more question before we do. Does Liv have a defense that's not against Rhea Ripley?
Yeah, she beat Io Sky on Saturday Night Live.
Okay, so 1 in 6 months.
And she beat didn't she win the Crown Jewel thing, the Saudi Arabian thing?
Yes.
It's not title defense.
Title wasn't on the line, but
was that Nia?
Yes, she beat Nia. Yeah. But my point is just that like she fought the same person the entirety of the 6 months. And so that sours it a little bit for me. But let's move on, like you said.
Now on to the men's Royal Rumble match. Same formatting. First 10 here. We have Rey Mysterio, Penta, Chad Gable, Carmelo Hayes, Santos Escobar, Otis, Braun Breaker, Akira Tozawa, later IShow Speed, Sheamus, and Jimmy Uso. How do we feel about the first 10 here?
Braun Breaker was the star. To me, he's my star of the Rumble. I thought he had the two biggest spots with his spears of IShow Speed and Roman Reigns. I almost threw my remote at the TV when Tozawa's music hit. So I wasn't even that upset when it was IShow Speed who replaced him because I really just needed to see anybody but Tozawa there. I think to me the biggest thing in this grouping was kind of how many underwhelming names there were. Like I didn't think we were getting Santos Escobar and Otis in this Rumble. And really, those are really the two that kind of to me should have probably been replaced by the New Day. I thought there was no reason not to have Xavier and Kofi in this match, given everything that they're doing right now. But it was a good pace to start the night.
Frank had that same reaction when Akira came out. Frank's like, really? You got Akira in there? Then, of course, Carmelo took him out, and we had one of the moments of the night with the whole IShow Speed thing, which is pretty great, honestly. So for me, I don't really like watch streamers too much. I don't really like do any of that stuff. So when they said like the Sanat guy and then IShow Speed were going to be there, I was like,
the Sanat guy. Yeah,
I was like, whatever. That doesn't mean anything. I'm not even trying to be like mean or disrespectful. That does not mean anything.
It's not for you.
Exactly. It's not for me, which is fine. Not everything needs to be for me, but Then, of course, Triple H and Gorilla is going there. We need someone to replace him. And I Show Speed just standing there. He's, Speed,
It
you're in
was
the Rumble. And
Fox.
it was really well done. I thought it was really good.
Braun Breaker killing him at the end there was kind of crazy. My injustice of the match, and I know you two are going to have bigger beefs later. Carmelo Hayes, 6 minutes and 59 seconds, first person eliminated. What is that? What is that? His catchphrase is Melo never misses. Melo misses every shot he takes. And I feel bad for him. Like, I feel bad for him. Like, he should be a rising star. He should have had a mid-card championship already. What are we doing with Carmelo Hayes? I don't understand this at all. Truthfully, how is that guy the first guy eliminated? Like you said, there were some names in here, and I don't mean any disrespect to any of these guys, but there were some names in here that easily could have been eliminated, and Melo could have stayed in that match for double or triple the amount of time. I mean, 21 minutes in the Rumble, it's a long time. It's not that long of a time. You know what I mean? Like, how is he not in there more? I don't understand it.
It's either long-term storytelling, it's he pissed somebody off in the back, or it's they don't look at him the same way we look at him. I think we look at him as a future possible world champion if he's booked correctly, but he doesn't look to be treated that way.
I also think that not that he's the same character as Chelsea Green, but it's Melo don't miss in he's a braggadocious heel that actually does miss quite often way. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, I know, Frank, you want him to be booked more strongly, but, I think right now it's kind of he talks a lot of crap and then just gets put on his ass.
I don't think it's supposed to be funny, though.
I mean, look, he's a former NXT champion. It's not like I don't know. I get what you're saying. And like, I'm okay with him being the cocky rookie that kind of has to pay his dues and stuff like that. But at a certain point, we got to start making him look good. And we got to start making him look good outside of best of 12 series with Andrade. We got to do something else. I don't know. We got to get him involved in something important and meaningful. They were about to do it with AJ Styles. I felt like that maybe could have been the thing that he could have taken off for. And then AJ got hurt. We'll talk about AJ more obviously later, but just come on. We got to do better by Carmelo Hayes because, again, there are guys in this match, and I really don't mean any disrespect, but there are guys in this match that should have been eliminated before Carmelo Hayes.
No, there's some disrespect intended. Otis and Santos could have been gone. But
No,
you know
fair.
what? Otis couldn't have been gone because he had to catch Speed and send him over the announce table.
We started this off with Ray and Penta. Really fun start,
cool.
I thought.
That was cool.
It was a really cool start. I think there was a little botch there.
It was cool until Penta eliminated himself a minute into the match, and they just pretended like it was 1 foot.
I started to be frank. I said, "Do not show that replay," because they love to show the replays.
And they didn't.
Oh, it's 1 foot. They better not show that. They did not show the replay.
They knew better. I mean, listen, there's a chance it was only 1 foot, maybe, but it was the closest 1 foot maybe of all time. I think it probably was 2, but we'll look past it for what ended up being the Iron Man Penta with his 42 minutes.
42 minutes. He was in there a long time. He was involved and had a lot of cool like stare downs with different guys. Braun, Jacob. Was there anyone else important?
It was Jacob, the one who he was doing his little Cerro Miedo, and he destroyed him before he could even finish the
I believe
thing.
so.
Yeah. So yeah. It was good. He got his little taste of everybody, and listen, he's clearly big. They clearly are ready to use him in a lot of big spots. So I'm interested to see how he plays into their future plans, because I think they consider him a main name right now.
The next set of guys here, going from 11 to 20, we have Andrade, Jacob Fatu, Ludwig Kaiser, The Miz, TNA champion Joe Hendry, Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, Finn Balor, Shinsuke Nakamura, and then Jey Uso. Business really picked up here. There was a lot going on here. I mean, I know you said Braun Breaker, the possible MVP of this match. If not him, then it's Jacob Fatu probably. Those two men kind of went through this whole match. Really impressive performance.
And Jacob just got his stare down with everybody. Everybody got their moment where everyone else was down, and it's just you and Jacob standing in the middle of the ring. So they made it. They weren't very shy about making it clear that he was the most fearsome what does Cole call him? The Lupin features of Jacob Fatu. They really hammer home that werewolf nickname. But he's awesome. He didn't do his little moonsault off the top rope. At least I don't remember him doing it. That's the only thing he didn't do that I was waiting for. But everything else was classic Fatu.
Did you see his spot, or I guess his slight moment with John Cena?
Yeah. I mean, remind me.
Okay, so I don't think you did then, based on what you're saying. So Jacob was eliminated right before John's entrance. John runs to the ring. He runs past Jacob, and they kept the camera on Jacob for a hot second, staring at John.
Oh, okay. No, then I didn't see that.
And it was well done because it was quick, and it was meaningful. I caught it immediately. I was like, wow, because they showed Jacob's face as John slid into the ring, and it was like something's going to happen there.
Because he got eliminated right before John's music hit, right?
Yeah, Braun threw him over, and then John came out right after.
Yeah, okay.
The coolest thing that happened in this match that had nothing to do with the finish was Braun Breaker cutting Roman Reigns in half and then Roman getting up and throwing him over. I mean, that was the epitome of, wow, we need more of that. Like, whatever that was, we need more of that. And Jacob and Braun also had a stare down too, which was really, really cool.
But they never did anything with it. They had a stare down, and then everyone else or someone else came in, and it was forgotten about.
And that seems to be the theme of this Rumble, is everything was teased. Cena and Punk were in the same ring. They were face to face. Roman Reigns was also there. I don't think they touched each other. I don't think they interacted with each other at all. That's got to be by design. There's obviously a plan for the two of them to do something together, whether it's together or against each other, right? We'll talk about them more, obviously, as we get to this later half, but there was a lot of teases here. Braun actually did spear Roman, but that was a super quick interaction too. It was spear, and then Braun was over the top rope, and Roman did a good sell job after to look like he was like all disheveled after getting speared, and he was just able to have the veteran presence to get up and throw him over. A lot of teases and that stuff with the people that we want to see. So hopefully they capitalize on this stuff moving forward.
Yes or no? Is there a world where WrestleMania this year features a bout between Sheamus and Joe Hendry for the TNA Championship?
No, I don't think so.
Because they had something, and you know, it was fun, and people enjoyed it. But I wonder if they do anything with it. You know what I mean?
I think that you could have that match. Maybe the TNA Championship isn't on the line. Although I can't see if WWE,
well, if he's going to be there, you might as well put it on the line. That makes it better.
I was about to say, if WWE went to TNA, I can't see them being like, no, we're not
doing that. You, of course, have to have the TNA guy retained in that
situation. Joe Hendry would win.
Right.
Yes.
Which is great, which helps your cross promotion there if you have the TNA
and
guy.
And it's Sheamus. He can afford to lose.
He can lose without anything.
And Joe Hendry was a surprise. I think it was speculated, but of course was not confirmed. 3 minutes and 33 seconds. He went out there. I get it. He's never going to win.
That's still WWE saying, you're not really one of us.
Your little brother, exactly. But that's an opportunity. You could have made him look good. You could have given him an elimination. You could have done something there. And the next day, Triple H did the point thing and said, I believe, and like pointed at Joe Hendry. I'm like, if you believe, you would have given him 10 minutes in elimination. So I was frustrated with that.
Listen, Speed got an elimination and Hendry didn't.
That's true. That is true. Yeah. He was out there for the entrance, and it was exactly perfect, right? We said his name, he appeared, everyone sang along.
I thought that maybe there would be a little bit more singing along or waving. It didn't look like anyone was doing the wave your hands from.
I think the cameraman missed the spot where he turns around. The camera wasn't zoomed in, so I was just like, I think they totally botched the whole situation with Joe Hendry. But the one saving grace was he was tossed over by Roman. It wasn't tossed over by like the Miz or someone random. Yeah. Like Roman Reigns threw him out.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like he'll be back in one way or another. So
he'll absolutely be back.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the more exciting stuff here, there's always like that one like funny spot where he slides in, gets thrown out immediately. Ludwig Kaiser was that guy this year. 6 seconds. I feel like, why is that Ludwig Kaiser spot? He's kind of
felt bad. It felt real bad.
Yeah,
I agree.
Do R-Truth. Do something like funny with the spot. Like, why is Ludwig Kaiser, who's a guy who's mostly portrayed as very serious, like, why is he the 6-second guy?
I mean, like, I kind of like the way they did it, where he was like waiting for his moment.
Right. It was the coward. He was the cowardly heel, and it bit him for not just going in and wanting to fight. I don't know. That's kind of the only explanation I would have for it, because other than that, yeah, Ludwig's not really a comedy spot guy, but I don't know. I didn't really have a problem with it. I didn't really care to see Ludwig Kaiser that much. So,
Heel, how do you feel about number 18's music when he came out there?
number 18, Finn Balor. I mean, nobody knew who the hell it was,
I had no
and
idea. I was like,
he got zero pop. It's just the only thing I'm potentially glad about is that, unfortunately, JD McDonough got hurt pretty bad, but maybe this is the beginning of the end of the Judgment Day, and Finn maybe goes and does something on his own now. I'm sure we'll find out on Raw what actually is going to happen, but new music. He wasn't dressed in any purple or Judgment Day attire. It looked like, a new shirt. So we'll see. Maybe this is Finn finally breaking out and doing something on his own. Judgment Day had a great run, but especially now with JD hurt, there's nothing left for him to do.
21 to 30 coming up next here. We have AJ Styles, Braun Strowman, John Cena, CM Punk, Seth freaking Rollins, Dominic Mysterio, Sami Zayn, Damian Priest, LA Knight, and Logan Paul. Before we really break this down here, 23, 24, 25 being Cena, Punk, Seth was amazing.
John at 23 was, I mean, look, it could just be a coincidence, right? But we often equate the number 23 with Michael Jordan, who is supposed to be the GOAT, right? There's a reason John Cena came out at 23. They've been calling him the GOAT this whole entire time. I don't think that was by mistake. I love
also his 23rd year on the roster. I don't know if you knew that.
Even better, his GOAT year, exactly. I love that Punk was 24 as like the Kobe Bryant to Michael Jordan, like the almost there, but didn't quite match the legacy, right? And then 25, I don't have a analogy for Seth Rollins, but it was still cool.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was awesome. At that moment, I thought we might be entering GOAT Rumble territory, and it was amazing. Cena couldn't stop laughing. He was having the time of his life.
He was
having so much fun.
The three of them, and obviously this will move forward, right? Roman standing tall, obviously, after the most time in. Cena had just gotten in and done like a few moves. Then Punk comes out, right? And the three of them are staring at each other. Roman's pissed. Punk is pissed. Cena's over there smiling. He can't control himself. He's just so happy to be there. It is really funny to see because he doesn't have that. Even though he has history with all these guys, it feels like it's water under the bridge, so to speak, or just not as present. And it was really fun to see Cena's reaction compared to Roman and Punk when Seth came out. I thought it was all really, really well done.
Only one surprise / return in this grouping here, AJ Styles at 21, which was awesome to his old music. We were very excited about that. No Randy Orton. No Randy Orton was kind of crazy to me.
I think it makes you just wonder, is he actually hurt? What's going on there, right? Because this would have been a good spot for him to come back. And as we alluded to, there were some guys in the beginning that could have been replaced by Randy Orton.
Yep, no Dwayne, which I don't know what that means. It probably means we're not getting Dwayne this year, but yeah, no, I mean, Randy's probably really the only guy who we all assumed would be there who wasn't, which, you know what? It's fine. They didn't need Randy Orton here. To me, the only ones who should have replaced were the New Day. I couldn't really think. Karrion Kross wasn't there, if we care about that.
That's surprising.
I would have rather Kross than some of the other guys in there for sure.
Right. So there were a couple who you could have thrown in, but no, I was fine with the 30 for the most part with the 30 men who were in the match.
Even maybe they didn't want to do it at all, but Trick Williams, Nathan Page, like you said recently, they didn't have any of the NXT men in there, which I would have really
or Obafemi,
yeah, I would have whooped that Trick as the entire arena is saying it. I thought that was for sure gonna happen.
There were a bunch of reports about Omos too, and he also didn't make an appearance. He had to get rid of his title and whatever independent circuit he was champion in, and everyone thought, oh, he's coming back, and no Omos.
So as we're winding down to this match here, CM Punk gets the big spot where he flips over Seth and Roman, which was absolutely insane, followed by Logan Paul running over and flipping over Punk. And at that moment, I couldn't even believe it. We're just sitting there, and I know we all had our Final Fours, and everything, the whole bracket was destroyed at that moment.
All of our Final Fours went out the window.
Done.
I applaud them in one capacity. I think that's the way they want to go about this, but it's just like I don't know if that was the right decision.
Well, let's put it this way: if none of them were going to win, which we all thought CM Punk was going to win the match, then maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe our preconceived notions don't matter at all because we all assumed that there had to be some final showdown between those guys, and instead we kind of just got it outside the ring, right? We got really an epic showdown between all three of them, including the double curb stomp, which was like just both hilarious and brutal and crazy and it was awesome.
Yeah, the three guys continued to fight outside the ring after they were eliminated. It's clear to me at this point that Roman and Seth are definitely doing something at Mania together. Do we think Punk's in that, or is it a singles match with Roman and Seth?
I don't know. To me, the better match will be the three of them. The more compelling story will be the two of them. It's been long enough since their last match where I don't really care how many times we've done this. There's such a history there. Um, I I don't know. I don't really know where Punk fits in anything anymore.
All I know is that there's a favor, and that favor has to involve Roman Reigns, right? With Paul Heyman and CM Punk, like I'm sure Seth will be involved, but to me, Punk and Roman have to be at WrestleMania, and so it's like, yeah, maybe it is just the three of them, and maybe something else happens, like maybe something. I don't know. Maybe The Rock does get involved. I truly don't know, but I don't think we can really say right now what's going to happen with the three of them at WrestleMania.
One last tidbit here before we go into the final four and the winner. To me, the travesty of the night was Drew McIntyre. The fact that he was not involved with this big ending with these guys, with either Sammy or Jay, or he was just thrown over by Priest randomly in like an off spot that felt weird. And of course, the reports came out after that he was legitimately pissed. It was not a work. Something went wrong with the elimination. And it felt like that because to me, Drew had to be involved in some capacity in these storylines.
Yeah, I mean he came out right after Roman, and they got their one-on-one time, which was really kind of the first time in a while that we've seen him actually get to Roman Reigns himself. But you're right, he was not involved in really any of the dramatic finish amongst all the stars. And maybe that was on purpose because, we're hearing all these reports that maybe he's going to be linked with Damian Priest going forward. Listen, I like Drew a lot, and I had him in my final four. I thought he needed to be there. I thought he was as big a part of the story as anybody. But that this could just be what they had planned, and maybe he doesn't like it so much, and it's hard to blame him.
That's fair. Getting back to the finish here, after the elimination of Roman and Seth, the final four is technically John Cena, Jey Uso, Logan Paul, and CM Punk. CM Punk was thrown out right after, so it was really the final three here. And to me, I feel like they used to make a big deal of the final four. It used to be like the four corners, everyone staring at each other. I didn't notice that neither the men's or the women's of them really like caring about that anymore.
Yeah, I mean this one felt kind of natural. Um, First of all, I know there's some conflicting reports on from the three of us on who liked the fact that Paul was actually it was just me. I love the fact that Paul was the one that flipped Punk over, right? Because he wasn't going to win, right? CM Punk wasn't going to win. What does that do for John Cena or Jey Uso at this point? Nothing. What does that do for Logan Paul? Yeah, that's another notch on his cap, especially after Punk said to somebody, I forget who it was, the week before, I didn't lose to
It
Logan
was
Paul.
KO.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, I've never lost a match to Logan Paul. That was the night before. And so, sure enough, here, great storytelling is Logan Paul flipping CM Punk out of that match and maybe setting something up down the line. I can't say that I'm yearning for a CM Punk Logan Paul match, but if it happens, I won't be annoyed.
I just, that's fine. I understand why, and I accept that. I just would rather have seen CM Punk and the other guys in the Final Four. Like the fact that we got Logan Paul, I just is not what I really wanted to see. And I like Logan Paul. I like his matches. I just didn't think he belonged in this one.
Okay, no, I get it. I will say this though. Me and Mark look at each other. I go to Mark, oh my God, I think Jey Uso is going to win this match. This is the point where Logan flips CM Punk out. Mark looks at me and he goes, "Oh my God, Logan Paul might maybe win this match."
I was very
And
worried they were going
he
to let
was
Logan Paul.
so
I
it
was
did
worried.
it though, but that's the point. Like it did that exact reaction. So
See,
I
I was,
thought,
and at that point, I said, "Wow, they're really going to give it to John Cena."
so there you
So,
go.
like, I was
That's
at that point,
amazing.
But
I was locked in. I thought for sure, 100%. Michael Cole was crying after Logan got eliminated. Michael Cole couldn't speak. He was, and listen, I watched it on a delay the next day, and when Logan was tossed out, and it was Cena and Uso, and they're chanting John Cena, and it was powerful. Like, it was cool. And I was certain at that moment that this is it. They're just going to do it. And Cole was like emotional. His voice was all scraggly.
John has him up on the apron for the attitude adjustment. Jay slides off and pushes John out. Jay is your 2025 Men's Royal Rumble winner. It was a surprise. It was definitely shocking, I think, to everyone involved. Is it the right decision? We're going to have to wait and see. All
all
right, we'll
right.
start with Frank
Yeah,
then.
they're starting with me so they could team up on all of my takes and take me out, but that's fine. Listen, we have complained for years, and this match specifically, that it is too telegraphed. So, one, it wasn't telegraphed. Two, the most over guy in the company won the match. Now, as it sits today, he might not be the most over guy in the company. That being said, this is by far not the worst reaction that we've seen to a Rumble winner. I think it's just 30 men in this match. People are always going to be split. There's always going to be some dissent here. But again, I will go back to the fact that the most over person in the company, the top merchandise seller at points in time, won this match. And they chose to strap a rocket to a guy and establish and like cement him as a main eventer moving forward. He's got to win this match at WrestleMania. Like, he has to win this match at WrestleMania, or else this is terrible. But we'll get into that like later down the line. This felt good to me. Like, this felt like this was good. Cena is such a powerhouse star, greatest of all time. He didn't need this. They wanted to keep that record on Stone Cold. Don't kid yourself. Jey Uso winning is more than just Jey Uso winning. Like, it is how far this company has come in their ability to create new stars. And since they've been creating new stars, he is the biggest. And so this seemed right. This seemed appropriate to me. I know you guys have different opinions.
There is absolutely a world where I'm A-okay with Jey Uso winning this Royal Rumble. I think I'm not so much okay with it 1 week after he just lost a championship match to Gunther at Saturday night's main event.
It's the timing. The timing of the win is where it hurt.
He faced Gunther when Gunther was Intercontinental Champion. We've had Jey Uso versus Gunther a lot over the last couple of years since Gunther has had these two title reigns. I would like this a lot more if Gunther wasn't the champion.
Yep.
If somehow we got Jey Uso versus Sami Zayn at WrestleMania, I think that's money. I think that story tells itself. There's so much history between those two guys. There's so much passionate and a blood rivalry there. I think, to me, I know the Yeet character is incredibly popular. It sells all the merchandise. It's fun. It is. It's fun. I just have a hard time when Jay was so good as the conflicted member of Roman's bloodline and doing such great character work that now his promos consist of speaking in 3 syllables, yeet, 3 syllables, yeet. And it just doesn't feel like there's substance to anything he says in his mic work. And that, to me, is what I'm most concerned with, is that there's a 2 month build to WrestleMania. It's the longest gap that we've ever had. He's gonna have to build this match. And if he can get back to what he was able to do before main event Jey Uso really came to be, then maybe we can live with this. But I just have a lot of doubts as to how they make this work.
For me, it just comes down to the timing. Frank, you know I love Jey Uso. He's one of my guys. I just think they had so many different opportunities to pull the trigger with him at Money in the Bank, when he faced Damian Priest for the title, when he faced Gunther for the title, and they never did. Last week, he lost to Gunther for the championship, as Romano said. And I don't think Jay versus Gunther is the rivalry that maybe Triple H or WWE thinks it is, because sure, the matches will be great. Gunther's amazing, but I don't think it's a main event worthy match at WrestleMania. And like I said to you, like I keep saying here, we think that John Cena versus Cody Rhodes is getting night 2 of WrestleMania. That leaves this getting night 1. So whatever Seth, Punk, Roman, whatever they're all doing is not getting a main event spot. They're probably going to
I
get like
disagree. I don't think it's going to main event. I really don't think it's going to main event.
I
main
agree
event.
with the
Jey
heel.
Uso's not going to get the main event.
I agree with the heel. I don't think it's gonna main event either. I actually think this is gonna open night 2. This is gonna open Sunday night. If I had to guess. I'll say this.
That's what they did last year. The World Heavyweight Championship open night 2.
If he does get the main event, though, I am not going to cry for Roman Reigns, who has main evented 10 WrestleManias. It's okay for Roman to not be in the main event. It's okay for Seth not to be in the main event. And
I'm more going to cry for me because I'd rather see Roman Reigns.
Craig, it's not that we're crying that they deserve this spot. It's they should be in this spot. If you're going to have the Roman Reigns match at 8 o'clock, you want me to sit there for 3 hours and care about everything else more than I just did about the Roman match? It's not going to happen.
Should is a really, really interesting word that you're using right now. And I'm going to tell you why. Because for the last, I don't know, since COVID, right? Jey Uso has showed up every single week and has put the company on his back. That's not something CM Punk or Roman Reigns can say, okay? Jey Uso has been a top merchandise seller since he broke away from the bloodline. Jey Uso has earned this spot. There's no question about it.
I'm not saying that Jey didn't deserve this or he
Listen,
didn't he did, but this is about the viewership now.
I understand that 100%, but you got a locker room that you are telling everyone has a chance here. And I know for a fact Jey Uso went back to that locker room and there were some guys that are hovering around the mid card said, damn, maybe one day I have a chance to actually do this, right? Now, look, not everyone's cousin is Roman Reigns and The Rock, and we'll get into that. I mean, we won't, but
I think I just, it's cliche, but you could say the same things about Jey Uso that you could have said about LA Knight a year ago, and they didn't do anything close. They didn't even let him win Money in the Bank, and so it's like, I get it, and I'm happy for Jey. I like Jey. I think Jey's very likable. It has far-reaching consequences up and down the card. And if this is indeed the last match of one of the nights, then I think Mark is right that it's going to feel a little anticlimactic. They have 2 months to show us why it's not and to make us really care. And I think we could still be seeing some influence of the bloodline. I don't know how deep, but I think they have to touch on Jay's rise to this moment and how he got here and really pull home how he became main event Jey Uso. And so we're not done with Jimmy. We might not be done with Sammy. We'll see how it all shakes out, but I just hope that they're able to tell the right story with this. And if it is Jey versus Gunther, hope it's a good match.
I completely agree with you that there's still a lot of work to do to make this compelling. But there's a lot of work to make every Rumble winner for 2 months compelling. So fair is fair. You're right, heel. He needs
Some
to stop
more than others.
Sure. I mean,
we got very spoiled with Cody for 2 years in a row.
Cody, obviously, I mean, that story was just incredible the whole entire time. But there's a lot of times where it's like, all right, these two have never interacted before. Like, how's this going to go? So yes, I agree with you. He can't cut the promos that, he cuts on a weekly basis, right? But he had some impassioned promos that he's cut before. I hope we get back to that. I hope they continue to build this match. And look, if it really goes sour, they could always throw a third person in this match. You want CM Punk cashing in a favor? How about CM Punk gets in this match? I still think Jey Uso has to win, but then CM Punk gets in his main event, and everyone goes home happy. Seth and Roman are a one-on-one match. That'll be great. Just
I would not
spitballing
be
here.
I would not be surprised at all if they use that as a technique to get a third man in this match to make it more compelling. I hope not for Jay's sake at this point. You went with him, you got to stick with him. I think it looks a lot worse if you throw a third guy in. We are now on the road to WrestleMania Elimination Chamber, just a few weeks away. We'll do some Raw reviews and some predictions before then. Hope everyone enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching.